something just knocked up at the table. And I'm talking about his speech. They say, actually you say this could be quite long, so I'm trying to get it. Well, they say that 30 is the new 20 and life begins at 40. But 50 seems to have avoided being stereotyped. It suggests you're halfway there. But unlike kids on a journey somewhere nice, who constantly ask, are we there yet? There really isn't anything nice about either the rest of the trip or its destination. As my friend Johnny said, I just teed off on the back 9 and it's getting dark early. My mate Martin would say today is all about me, but really it's all about you. Because without you, we wouldn't have got through the last 20 years. Some of you I know through work, some through the golf club, football, families, or just because you happen to linger at Mackenzie's 5 minutes too long one night. I thought, therefore, it might be an idea to give you a brief history of my life, and it's not that brief. And how you all fit in. One day someone said to Laurie, that's the pizza you ordered. Well, this is the pizza you're going to hear about. My parents, who like most parents in the 60s were oblivious to the hazards of smoking and drinking when pregnant, were at a cocktail party. Getting stuck in at a cocktail party when labour pain suddenly afflicted my mother. And my dear father was forced to drive her to Dorking Hospital, where he dropped her off and immediately returned to the party. Discreetly passing the midwife his number of the house so that she could call to say whether he had a boy or a girl. My early childhood was spent in Ewell, a village south of London that Laurie affectionately calls Ewell? Ewell? Whoever heard of a fucking place called Ewell? My father's response to that was to call her Trucker, which is American for lorry. After a fun adolescence, I sat my O-levels and somehow scraped through, which meant two more years studying politics, history and economics. In June, 2 years later, I borrowed £200 from my father and hopped on a bus from Victoria Station to Athens, where I slept on a roof for a few days and caught the ferry out to the island. A few months later, and I was summoned home to open my exam results. An E and 2 O's, which Charlie subsequently pointed out was the equivalent of a 1.6 GPA. The place I'd been offered to read politics at Nottingham University suddenly evaporated before my very eyes, and I was forced to call every university in the Arca handbook, even resorting to the Dorset College of Fashion, where even they told me apart. So to Charlie's point earlier on, what was a mildly homosexual looking bleach blonde with deep earrings and a pigtail going to do next? Get a job at the stock exchange. So after 3 interviews, I became a runner on the stock market. And surprisingly, a year later, blue button for the first openly gay member of the London Stock Exchange. True. 6 weeks before the crash of '87, and I found myself working in Sydney. As you know, Aussies love to give bombs nicknames, and mine was May I. After I took the prettiest dealer out for dinner, and she told the other traders that I said, may I kiss you at the end of the night. It all makes sense. Suddenly. Over the first 2 weeks, my boss insisted I get to know all the dealers on the floor. In those days, the Sydney market closed from 12:30 till 2, and so each day I took a dealer out and tried to get them to like bombs. Of course, I waited until Friday to take Penny out, and at 3 o'clock, the maitre d' came across, saying my boss was on the line, wondering why Penny wasn't back on the market floor. She scampered while I paid the bill and hightailed it back to the office, only to be told that Penny had been sacked, and I would be too if I didn't sit down and do the job I was brought over to Australia to do. You can't sack her. You told me to take out all the dealers. Well, isn't it funny? that all the guys you took out were back by 2, and it's now 3:15. Anyway, it doesn't matter, she's gone. And then those immortal words that define my career. If she goes, I go. As I put my jacket on and headed for the elevator. 10 minutes later, after no one had followed me, I found myself taking my seat as my boss came, once again asked if I was there to work. Not a moment later, I picked up the phone and said, "Hi Penny, can you sell 100 BHP?" I'd learned a valuable lesson. My time in Australia was cut short by the stock market crash, where my book lost $6 million. As if that wasn't bad enough, Sally Park and her husband were at a dinner party several years later, where a guy claimed to know a Gary Cunningham who'd been to his school and lost $60 million. And suddenly I was Nick Leeson. By '89 I was back in England living with my old school friend Trevor. And bouncing around various broking houses. It was there that I met Tony and Karen. Tony was a rare Australian. Quiet, unassuming and intelligent. And I got to know Karen well when we posted bail for Tony after he'd been arrested for suspicious substances that Oscar and Charlie might know something about. They remain among my dearest friends, and along with Silver and Kaisha, my second families in the Hamptons, they've extended an invite to everyone to come and stay with them this I got room, come on. The early 90s were a debaucherous jumble of parties, travel and occasionally work. One trip skiing in Austria found Trevor and I confronted by a do not disturb sign on our door at the end of a long day skiing. Cautiously, we went inside to be greeted by the most pungent smell imaginable. Our friends had taken it in turns to lay a dump on the S-bend in the toilet and then crank the heating up to max. I won't even try to explain what they did to the jar of Burberry. But all too soon it was over as Laurie walked into our favourite bar, and with my sister's help I went from being one of the boys to Where's Gary? After several months dating, I suggested to Laurie that she move in with Trevor and I, and promptly hopped a flight to Munich on business. That cold, windswept day, Trevor opened the door to find a bedraggled Laurie in 2 suitcases. The bemused look on Trevor's face said it all, as Laurie narrowed her eyes and said, "The fucker didn't tell you, did he?"
What's happening on this
He's carbon copy. Carbon copy.
Our wedding in Racine was followed by a honeymoon in Venice and Tuscany. And within a year we'd moved from London to New York with 2 cats, 3 ficus trees, and a burning desire by Laurie to get pregnant. Sod's law, that happened the first time. And Charlie was born in September '96. As all the dads here will attest, it's an incredibly special moment. But was somewhat tainted by Laurie's insistence that he be circumcised to look like the American boys he'd be growing up with. She only backed down when she called home to request a change of clothes, and the voice message announced the arrival of our bundle and joy, and that I'd gone to save his penis. This is I was getting up at 1:30 to commute to New York and avoid any diaper duties. And 3 years later, Laurie gave birth to Molly Lee. By then, I was working at ABN with Caroline, who can't be here, who looked like Michelle Pfeiffer. "Gary, I just warn you," my boss said, "she's quite tough. But having hung out with her husband, Steve, for the last 15 years, I can perhaps see why she had to be. Can you imagine waking up with one crazy bastard and then going to work with 8 more? Finally, in 2002, my destiny called, and I was fortunately given the opportunity to open the US office for execution.
Ow, ow!
Talk about ticking every employment criteria. Within 5 years, we had 3 gays, a former West Pointer, a Pakistani taxi driver, 3 women, including an ex-Florida State cheerleader, a bald 12-stepper, a token Jew, a 73-year-old nicknamed Blue, you're my boy Blue, a midget, a Chinese COO, thereafter known as Chief Oriental Officer, and my old friend Kurt Peterson, who was the glue that held us all together. I'd known Kurt since the early 90s in London, and we met MB and his wife when we moved here in '95. It'd be fair to say that Kurt's favourite head movement was... Each day, he walked into the office in what he considered to be the land of misfit toys. Of course, at least that was better than Mehdi's head movement. Always suggested he would drive you home for a tenner in his taxi. Our major selling point in the early days was corporate entertainment. We all aspired to the Amex Black Card. Mine is still in the top drawer by the bed, as I currently favour my CBS card. But one day it'll rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. Our annual trip to the Monte Carlo Grand Prix was the highlight of the year. And in 2004 we had bought a racehorse. The night before the race, the Monaco committee hosted a huge black tie ball. Among the auction items that year was a Ferrari, a safari in Africa, and a racehorse trained by the champion jump trainer and ridden by the leading UK jockey, AP McCoy. As the Ferrari auction dragged on, I decided to pop out and call the family, only to return 20 minutes later to be told our table had bought the racehorse for £8,000.